video, I'll break down how to create this really cool paper rip collage effect in Final Cut Pro 10. Now this effect is created using Brian Dalmata's Ultimate Paper Texture Bundle. So if you want to go ahead and get these assets, the link is down in the description below. It's the affiliate link, so by using that link, you'll be supporting the channel, as well as you'll be able to buy these really cool paper assets, and you'll be able to create an effect very similar to this effect that I showed in the intro. So once you use the link down in the description below, you'll be able to download the Ultimate Texture Bundle. Now don't install this in your motions template folder or effects preset folder. It's just used as an overlay. So just download the folder, put it on your desktop or put it on some sort of hard drive, and just click on Command I. So if I click on Command I, I'm going to head over to desktop, and basically just you're going to locate where the folder is. So as you can see, Ultimate Texture Bundle, and then here are all the stuff that comes with the tape, paper textures, paper rips and folds. So let's say I want to use something from the paper textures folder. So let's do black scratch 8. So you just select it, locate the folder wherever you have the folder, and then select the asset or assets that you want to use. So we want to use this black scratch. Simply just import it like you would any kind of normal overlay. So don't put it in your motions template, don't put it in your presets folder. It's just used as an overlay. Just import as you would any kind of normal overlay. Anytime you're doing any kind of paper or photo effects, one of the most important things you want to do is add a flash transition and add a camera shutter sound effect. Now to create a flash transition, it's very simple. I'm going to use an adjustment layer. It's a free plugin. So take the adjustment layer. It's a free plugin down. The link will be down in the description below. I'm going to set it to 6 frames. So the adjustment layer is set to 6 frames. I'm going to go forward 3 frames. 1, 2, 3. Just place a marker and then 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to place the marker, which is the middle of the adjustment layer, and you're going to place it in between the 2 clips. You're going to head to the beginning of the adjustment layer, and then you're basically just going to go to the color section, click on plus color board, just add a color board. Now make sure you're on exposure, place a keyframe on exposure, then go forward 1, 2, 3 frames, take the global, turn the global all the way up to 90, take the highlights and turn the highlights all the way up to 100, then go forward 1, 2, 3 frames, and then take the global, keyframe it from 0, and then take the highlights to 0. So what it's going to do is going to keyframe the global and highlights, so 1, 2, 3, and now that it's going to kind of dim out. You won't be able to see this as a black background, but always add a camera flash effect or a camera shutter sound effect. Flash transitions are really nice anytime you're doing photo effects or paper effects. So I'm going to head over here to the media and locate a photo that I want to use. So let's go to photos, and let's say I want to select this photo. Just drag it on the timeline, make sure it's underneath the flash transition, and I'm just going to trim the photo. I'm going to go to the actual photo itself, and then a nice little tip is go over here to spatial conform and click on fill. That way it'll make sure it'll fill the entire frame. So if I play the video, as you can see, there's a really nice flash transition, and there is the photo. So again, if I play it frame by frame, as you can see, here's the flash transition. There we go. So it just looks like you kind of took a photo, and there you go. You have this really cool digital camera flash effect, and then of course adding a little camera shutter sound effect is going to make it sound so much better. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to add some sort of paper texture. Now again, it's not going to look as good as actually ripping up real paper, so you want to add a paper texture overlay just to help make it a little less digital. Of course, there's not much you can do. It's going to look a little bit digital, and it's not going to look like you actually tore up paper, but even just the subtle things of adding some paper texture on top of the photo will just help sell the effect. So let's take the paper texture, go to rotation, turn to 90, and then we're just going to increase the scale so it fills up the entire screen. Place on this, head over to the overlay, and then in my case, I'm going to set the blending mode to screen. Now once you added the paper texture on top of the photo and change the blending mode to screen, what you want to do is I would encourage you to create a compound clip. So select the photo and the paper overlay, click on Option G, and we'll just call this a photo. We can call it photo with paper overlay, so you just want to call it whatever you want. I'm going to create a compound clip because it's going to be a lot easier when you group them all together. Now in my opinion, what I would do is I would just take the compound clip and then just create a copy. So as you can see, by creating a compound clip, it just uses less layers, it's a lot more organized, and I think it just looks a lot better. It's a lot easier to, I'm just moving one photo rather than moving the paper overlay and the photo. Grouping is really nice, it just keeps things more organized and just a lot more simple. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some sort of paper rip. So let's take this paper rip as an example. I'm just going to place it on top of the photos. And I'm going to take the paper rip and I'm just going to trim it. And then I'm going to place the paper rip, wherever I actually want it. So I'm going to take the paper rip and let's just kind of increase the scale a little bit to something like 150. We're going to take the paper rip and place it over here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select on the copy photo. We're going to increase the scale a little bit to something like 130 or 140. Move the y-axis and then we're going to move the x-axis. And we're just going to move the photo and make sure sure, you know, it's right lined up with the actual paper rip. Now we're going to use a draw mask, so head over here to the effects panel and then head over to mask. So make sure you're on mask, take the draw mask and then just apply it onto the actual photo. Make sure you apply it onto the second photo, which is the scaled in photo. Now the mask has to be actually on the photo, and we're just going to trace along the paper rip. So we're going to decrease we'll go to like 50%, and you just you make sure that the mask is actually on the photo, and you're just tracing along the paper rip. And then as you can see, there you go. See, it's just perfectly cut along the actual paper rip, which is just really nice. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to select the paper rip and then this photo that we scaled up, click on Option G, and we'll just call this paper rip. Obviously, I'm just going to go pretty fast. We'll just call this paper rip. Obviously, you know, name it whatever you want, whatever helps you to organize it. So, you know, if you want to just name it like 1 or 2 or whatever. In this case, we'll just call it paper rip. Now I'm going to offset this paper rip by 5 frames. So I'm going to go forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm just going to trim this actual paper rip. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over here to position. I'm just going to move it over a little bit. So I'm going to go to like maybe like negative, I guess not a little bit, we'll do like negative 370, something like this. So we're just going to move it over. Now what you're going to do is you're going to create a copy. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 frames. Now I always like to offset stuff by 3 or 4 frames. Let's go back, we'll go forward 1, 2, 3. So it's going to offset by 3 frames. Now we're going to press Command B to chop it. Now we'll take this one and then we're going to just move it over. Basically this effect is just in a whole bunch of different sequences. So as you can see, here is the first sequence, just the photo. Then you did paper rip off to the side, and the next sequence is what's kind of shifted over. So if I play the effect, this is what it looks like. As you can see, pops up and there you go. See, it's kind of like a stop motion effect. So I'm going to do is I'm going to go forward 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, and I'm going to just select both of these, press Command B, and then we're going to name this, we'll just call this option, we're going to create a compound clip, and we'll just call this scale in, so it's just easier. So we're just going to create a compound clip. Now we're going to increase this scale to something like 125, or yeah, we'll just do 125. So as you can see, you're basically doing it in different sequences. So here's the first photo, the next sequence, and then it has it punched in. So if I play the video, this is what it looks like. As you see, it has like stop motion, and then it just punches in. So you have to think of it as like individual sequences. Now we're going to go forward 1, 2, 3 frames, and we're going to place a marker. Now I'm going to head over here to photos and find a different photo. So let's use this photo as an example. Make sure it's right here. So just kind of offsetting the frame. So we're going to use this photo as an example. Now in this case, we're going to do like a paper rip overlay. So you can see it's all up to your creativity. Let's take a paper rip overlay and place it on top of this photo, and we're just going to actually trim the photo or the paper rip itself. Now we're going to take the rotation and we're going to change it to something like 90, and let's increase the scale. So you just have this nice paper rip with just the rotation, just the scale. Now what you're going to do is you're going to create a copy. You want to select on this top one, change the top one to screen. The top one is changed to screen, and this middle one is changed to stencil alpha. And there you go. As you can see, now it's inside the actual paper rip overlay. So we'll just call this we're going to group this paper, or you know, obviously name whatever you want, paper overlay, and then we're just going to create a compound clip, and then as you can see, now you can see the background. So I'm going to head over to the beginning where the paper overlay comes on, and then I'm going to go forward 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. I'm going to just blade the clip. I'm going to take the paper overlay and let's increase it a little bit. Everyone, that's a little too much. Increase it to 108, and then we're just going to add a little bit of rotation. So again, you're just thinking this as individual sequences. Now in this case, let's add like a tape overlay. So let's do this kind of like cool little tape overlay. So you see there's a whole bunch of paper rip overlays, paper rips, paper overlays, and then these really cool like tape effects. So let's take the tape, head over here to the transform tool, and then we're just going to decrease the scale, and then we'll do something like this, so it kind of looks like it's kind of taped on. So as you can see, that's pretty cool. It looks like the tape is actually on the actual photo itself, so it's a nice little effect. If we want to do another one, add this really cool yellow tape. Let's just trim it, and then we're going to take this yellow tape, and then of course, you know, it's all depending on you. This is just strictly an example. Let's decrease the scale a little bit. Take the paper tape, and let's just place it over there. So you can see now it looks like it's kind of just taped on. So if I play the video, this is what it looks like. It kind of just zooms in as a sequence. Then you get this really cool paper texture. The next sequence is zoomed in, rotated, and you added a little bit of a like a tape effect. So let's play the video and see what it looks like. As you can see, that's just really cool. This is a really cool like paper rip collage stop motion sequence. So there we go. That's just a very simple example. I would obviously take those concepts and create your own effect. So as you can see, you're basically just thinking of it as different sequences. So here is sequence number 1, here is sequence number 2, and then here is sequence number 3, sequence number 4, sequence number 5, and then sequence number 6. So you're just thinking of it as like in different sequences, and in my opinion, I would just offset them by 3 or 4 frames, so have the different sequence come on every 3 or 4 frames. Every like 1 or 2 frames I think is a little too quick, and like 5 or above is a little too slow, so kind of offset them by every 3 or 4 frames. And you just simply, like I said before, you're simply just thinking of it in different sequences. So there we go, it's simple as that. And then you basically just every like sequence you're adding a new photo, or maybe you're scaling the photo in. So instead of having it in one fluid motion, it creates this really cool stop motion animation. So if I head over here to the actual like the final edit or the intro that you saw, as you can see, you're basically just like the same thing. You're thinking of it as a different sequence. So if I go frame by frame, here is the next sequence, frame by frame, here is the next sequence. You can see if you kind of slow it down, it's a very simple effect, but when you put it together, it just looks really cool. So you see, it's just a whole bunch of different sequences, and then you could use your own creativity and figure out what you want to actually do with it. But there you go, there is the intro. You're just kind of thinking of it as just individual sequences, and then when you put them all together, it creates this really cool stop motion, scrapbook collage effect. And if I head over here to the example again, same thing. It just creates this really cool stop motion, collage animation. It is a really cool effect. I definitely encourage you to go ahead and try it out. Again, in order to create this effect, you're gonna have to use the Ultimate Texture a paper bundle from Brian D'Amata. The link is down in the description below. So if you want to buy it, go ahead and use that link. It's an affiliate link, and it helps. You're also helping to support the channel. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it helpful and informative. If you're new to this channel, I upload Final Cut Pro 10 and Apple Motion 5 tutorials every week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you enjoy these types of videos, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, be sure to check out my Final Cut Pro 10 playlist, where there's over 300 tutorials to learn from. Lastly, make sure to check out my website, where I sell Final Cut Pro 10 plugins. Anyways, I will see you in the next one. Peace.